so turn the soles of we're in Swastikasana, turn the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling, turn your calves up toward the ceiling, and turn your thighs from the inside out. All of that should help you get a little bit more depth in the groin, and you should feel your sitting bones move in toward each other, and you can think about that as the sitting bones, but it's also the outer hips drawing in. So when you have that lower leg firmness, you should feel that lift come into the chest. Lengthen up through the side ribs and roll your shoulder bones back. Bring your shoulder blades in, away from the neck, and into the center of the body and up a little bit, so you really feel your chest get nice and well lifted. Close your eyes and fold your palms together as your heart. Press your thumb into your sternum and then lift your sternum up into your thumb. As you inhale, make yourself taller from the tailbone all the way up through the head. Keep that height, and as you exhale, draw the prana, the energy of the breath, outward into your sideways and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Keep that height. Exhale, make yourself broad. Inhale, extend yourself. Exhale, expand yourself. Use the breath to create a sense of inner spaciousness. And that flux of the external world is always going on. Something is always changing. But that inner spaciousness, that inner landscape of you is like a reservoir or a safety net that you can surround yourself in so that you, to some degree, remain unfluttered, okay, or unfettered, unbothered by the circumstances of the external world. It's actually one of the ways that Patanjali defines perfection in asana. He says, when the effort to do asana becomes effortless, that infinite being within is reached. And then the final sutra about asana, he says, and from that point, you are unbothered by duality. It's not that duality ceases to exist, though he does actually say that it ceases to exist for emancipated beings in later padas. But you're unbothered by it. The flux and the change of the outer world doesn't have to affect the inner landscape of you, that domain of yoga. And from that unbothered space within, let's chant 3 hymns together. Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And from that space, inhale once more. Keep your chest well lifted and broad, and bring your chin down to your chest and your hands down to your thighs with your palms up. Then raise your head and open your eyes. Stretch your arms out in front of you and interlace your fingers well. Try to keep your elbows as straight as possible as you turn your thumbs outward toward the screen. Okay? The more you can keep your elbows straight, the more you'll feel that stretch come into that inner wrist, and it's a bit more like Sarvangasana 2 preparation. Okay? And when you reach your arms above your head, start off by pulling your shoulder bones back into the socket. Okay? But as you reach your arms up, when your arms get about, I would say like a 45-degree angle from your torso, at that point, as you go further, you can let your shoulder bones lift up toward your ears and let your trapezius muscles release away from the neck. Extend from the elbows through the thumb and the first finger side of your hand. Notice which finger you've got on top, or thumb you've got on top. For me, it's my left one. I habitually do that one first. Release your fingers up into Urdhva Hastasana, and then swing your arms down and put your left hand on your right knee and your right hand on the blanket behind you, or block if you have it. Okay, press your feet down and energetically lift your ankles up and continue that lift all the way up the tailbone through the head. And then exhale, turn and rotate. And as you rotate yourself around, push with your hand on your leg and pull on the blanket, and that action of the arms will help your twist, let's say, develop. Press down with your hands and lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. And as you exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. One more time, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Then come back to the center, push down with your hands and make yourself taller as you come back to the center. And stretch your arms out again in front of you. Interlace your fingers the opposite way. Keep your elbows as straight as you can as you turn your thumbs down toward the floor. Keep pushing with your thumbs and reach them toward the screen. Suck your shoulder bones into the socket and reach your arms up. And as you get to that, let's say 45-degree angle, let your shoulder bones lift up so that you get more opening in the sides of the armpits. And let your trapezius release down, but you can let those shoulder bones really come up like they're even grazing your ear on the side of your ear, and you can move the arms even more back behind you. When you get your arms back behind your ears, let the trapezius release again and lift up even more, and you'll feel the side ribs and the thoracic spine come in. Release your fingers and swing your arms around to the other side. Press down with your feet and energetically lift the ankles up. Continue that lift up from the tailbone through the head. And exhale, turn and rotate. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. One more time, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. And push down with your hands, lift up with your knees, and come all the way back to the center. Notice which leg you've got in front. For me, it's my right leg. And stretch your legs out into Dandasana, staff pose. And go ahead and get a strap. Join your big toes together. Spread your other toes wide apart. As you do those actions of the feet, again, you should see that your quadriceps actually lift up a little bit. Pull on the little toe side of the foot, lengthen up through the side ribs, pull on your strap and roll the shoulder bones back. Really lift your chest well. Dandasana. All right, then switch the cross of your legs so it's going the other way. Hook one thumb over the other thumb. Pull your thumbs against each other and stretch through your ring fingers. And let your shoulder bones release in toward your shoulder bones pull in. Lift your arms up till they get to that 45-degree angle. Then reach your shoulder bones up, but let your trapezius muscles release down. Notice which thumb you've got on top. Pull the thumbs against each other and lift a little bit higher. And then swing your arms around the opposite way. Press down with your feet and energetically lift the ankles up. Continue that lift up from the tailbone through the head. And exhale, turn and rotate. Lengthen up. Exhale, turn. One more time, lengthen up. Exhale, turn. Second time around, the twisting is really going better for me. Just stretch your arms out again. Come back to the center. Hook your thumb the opposite way. Pull the thumbs against each other and stretch through the ring fingers. Keep pulling the thumbs against each other as you stretch up through the ring fingers. Oops, I forgot to tell you to suck the shoulder bones in, but go ahead and let them release now, even if you didn't suck them in. Pull your fingers against each other. Good arm action, everyone. Really pull those thumbs against each other. Reach up a little bit more, and then swing your arms around to the opposite side. Push down with your feet and energetically lift the ankles up. Continue that lift all the way up from the tailbone through the head, and then exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Press down with the feet and lift the ankles up. Continue that lift up from the tailbone through the head, and then exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. One more time, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. And push down with both hands and bring yourself all the way back to the center. And then stretch your legs out into Dandasana again. And so we're on this, we've been working through since the beginning of the year, these sequences in the back of the book of Light and Yoga. This is the third week. We're on week 19, 20, and 21. Okay? And we've looked at different parts of that sequence, the new inversions, but it's also really the first place we get some seated twists and some forward bends. And so those are the parts of that particular sequence that we're going to work with today primarily. Okay. All right, so there's a pose, Bharavadasana 1. Okay. And Bharavadasana 1 basically combines that swastikasana twist with a Virasana twist. So we're going to put the legs in Virasana now. So fold your legs back behind you. If you can sit on the floor, go ahead and sit on the floor between your feet. It's early yet, so you might want to brick. And then sit in Virasana. So the feet should be out on the outside of the hips. And then lift your toes up with your hand. It's actually not just your toes, but if you can actually get the foot and pull that foot back. So the toes will go back, but it's because the foot goes back. And then do the same thing from the front of your shin. Lift your knee up and actually pull the shin bone forward. So as much as possible, you're trying to get that whole shin to rest on the floor. Mine doesn't do it, but that's the general idea. Then extend through the shins. Suck your outer ankles in, just like you did in Swastikasana. Suck your outer calves in and your outer hips in, and you'll feel that lift come all the way up into your chest, hopefully. All right, then stretch your right arm out in front of you. Turn the thumb down. Swing the arm way, way, way back behind you, and just get your left upper arm with your right hand. Lengthen up through the sides of the torso and roll those shoulder bones back. And release that arm. Stretch the left arm out. Turn the thumb down. Reach the arm way, way, way back behind you and get your right upper arm with your left hand. And release, and stretch your arms all the way up into Virasana. And if you can coordinate that, suck the shoulder bone in and then let it release upward. Reach up really high with your arms. Feel the freedom that comes without having to bind anything in the fingers, and then swing your arms around to the right. You may need another blank block to the back of your head. Okay, so this is Virasana Twist. Now flip your hand over so that the back of the hand goes on the leg. And see how that just changes the twist a little bit. You get some good twisting action when your palm is down, but you get a little bit deeper twist, particularly in that back left rib cage, at least for me, when you turn the palm up. Then lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Let your shoulder bones stay down away from the neck. And then exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. And then push down with your hands and come all the way back to the center. Again, stretch your right arm out, turn the thumb down, reach the arm way, way, way back behind you and get the left upper arm with your right hand. Use the forearm on the back to lift the ribs up a little bit more and feel that lift come into the chest. Looks good, everyone. Then release your hands, take your left arm out. Turn the thumb down, swing the arm way, way, way back behind you and get your right upper arm with your hand. Yes. Use the forearm on your back to lift the ribs up and really feel that chest get nice and well lifted. And then release that arm, stretch your arms out, suck the shoulder bones in and reach your arms way, way, way up. Shoulder bones up, the trapezius releases down, and then swing your arms back behind you. And turn, and flip that hand over. Lift up from the tailbone through the head, exhale, turn and rotate yourself around. Inhale, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. One more time, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head. Exhale, turn and rotate. And swing yourself back to the center. Come up onto your shins and your hands and your knees. Spread your palms well. Turn your biceps toward the front of the mat and turn your toes under. And then push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Press your hands down and forward. Pull the weight of the pose back into your legs. Come up under the balls of the feet. Feel how your quadriceps and your inner thighs lift. Keep pulling up through the quadriceps and the inner thighs and roll over the balls of the feet and reach your heels back toward the floor behind you. Then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Some of the other poses that are, we're going to sit down and do Bharavadasana 1, but some of the other poses that are in this sequence are is Balasana 2, where you wrap your hands around and get your ankles, and Marichyasana 1, and 2, where you wrap around and get one leg. Okay, so this behind the back arm work, which we've really been working on with all of the Paschimma Namaste work that we did earlier in some of the earlier sequences for quite some time. Okay? But there's the behind the back Bharadjudasana. So again, reach your right arm out again, turn your thumb down, bend your elbow and keep the elbow out wide first. Like you could imagine that there's a leg, okay, on the side of your waist, like there would be from Marichyasana 1. And you're trying to wrap your arm around that leg and then reach and get your upper left arm. And then use your fingers on your left arm to rotate the upper arm on the left arm a little bit more open. Push your arm into your back and lift up so you really feel that collarbone get broad. And then go ahead and just close the arm into Bharadjudasana. So do both. So you got both elbows interlaced. And even if you don't, I have my hands actually, today they're more on my forearm rather than above my elbow, but you can still push your fingers back toward the wall behind you, and you should feel that externally rotate your upper arms and get your collarbones a little bit broader. Then release that arm down, stretch the left arm out, turn the thumb down, and like you've got your thigh on the outside of this side of your body, stretch out, reach the arm all the way around that imaginary thigh, and get your right upper arm with your left hand. Then use your left fingers and roll that shoulder back. Grab your opposite elbow, push your fingers back and lift up through the chest. And then release. Then stretch both arms out. Turn both thumbs down like you were reaching around the lower part of your leg for Malasana 2. And instead of grabbing your ankles, go ahead and just put your hands up into Namaste. And even if the heel of the hand doesn't reach, extend from the elbows through the bottom of the wrist. Lengthen up through the armpits and roll those shoulder bones back so the collarbones get broad. And then release your arms and try that one more time. Stretch the arms out, turn the thumbs down, like you're wrapping around both legs, like you're gonna do Malasana 1, okay? And then reach your hands all the way up into Paschimottanasana Namaskar. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones, lift up through your fingers, and feel that nice opening come into the chest. And then release your hands. And you should have a brick and a strap and a couple of blocks close by. You may need that for the various twisting and forward bends that we're going to do. Okay, so sit down on the floor in Dandasana. Again, this sequence has Bharavadasana 1 and Bharavadasana 2 in it, near the end of the sequence, but we're doing it now. It's also a nice way to begin. Vicky was mentioning how nice she has that she's enjoyed Schumacher's classes in this pandemic time. I've been also very fortunate to be able to take a Friday morning class with my own teacher, Lloyd Blakeney, thanks to Zoom. And that's been really great. And she frequently starts out with, in her sequencing, she frequently starts out with this kind of twisting work at the beginning, bending of her sequences, because it releases the groin a lot. So what I find is really interesting about Bharavadasana 1 is that it combines Virasana and Swastikasana. Yeah. So you bring your right leg underneath your left thigh, and now it's in Swastikasana, right? And you can pull it in pretty close.
And should we sit on a height or should we?
Well, it's a good question. Right now, I'm not sitting on any height because I don't, in this stage, need any. But but if you did need height, you could go ahead and sit on it. But when I bring my left leg back into Virasana, okay, see how I'm like tipping over? Okay. I mean, I can kind of keep myself upright if I really try, but it's difficult. So at that point, I say, okay, I need a little bit of height. So I'm going to take this folded blanket, lift myself up, and just wedge it underneath my right sitting bone. You can put it underneath both sitting bones. That's also a way of working. But if I just put something underneath my right sitting bone, that actually gives my left sitting bone a little bit more room to descend downward toward the floor. Okay. You can prop up the height, okay, but this is all I need is just a little bit of a wedge underneath my right sitting bone. Okay. So it's kind of up to you, and you can also sit on a block. Okay, and do this with your sitting bones up on a block. Okay. But you want to get yourself set for, even though the legs are, let's say, asymmetrical, okay, or at least they're doing two different things, sort of. The torso should extend upward and be upright. So you need to figure out what support you need for that to happen. And then there are several stages of this twist. One of them you can do is without any binding of the arm. Okay, so you can just put your right hand down, left hand down on the right thigh, right hand back behind you, and you twist. Okay. You want to keep that left sitting bone descending downward as you twist to the right. Now, eventually in this pose, your hand actually goes all the way underneath your leg. If you wanted to look at the picture in the book, I think it's plate 288. So knowing that, let's just begin that process by turning the palm up. And now as you turn the palm up, you're not just pressing into the thigh, but you're actually extending your fingers down toward the floor, and let that extension of the straight arm pull you more into the twist. So it's not just a pressing, it's an extending. And you turn a little bit more. Then come back to the center. We're still on the right hand side. Now add the Bharadjudasana arm. So reach back behind you and get your left upper arm with your right hand. We'll use the strap in a second, but just see, and then straighten out your arm. Now, if I just swing around with my arm like this, first of all, I can't really keep my arm straight very well. But second, this is about how far I get. Okay, I get to the inside of my thighs. Some of you might be able to get further. But as I try to straighten my arm, even though it's not really straightening, I can feel my back ribs getting pulled around a little bit more. Okay? So it's really like what's happening is this extension of the straight arm, okay, pulls the bent arm around more. Okay? All right, now stretch your left arm out, turn your fingers down. Okay? Put your hand right on the palm, not on the fingers, but on the palm, and pull your palm back towards you. Okay? So you're preparing the wrist to try to do this full stage of Bharavadasana 1. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, regardless of what happens in the rest of your pose, okay, and you see I've moved this block over to the side because I know I'm going to need it. Can you get your hand underneath your thigh? Now, if you look at the picture in the book, really and truly, the heel of his hand is not really quite on the floor, okay? But it's extending toward the floor. And then what I've noticed also is that you can also push your upper right left arm against the knee, okay, and turn a little bit. So even though I'm leaning way forward, I've got this brick here to try and push myself back up, I'm still getting a really nice twist in my lower back and my rib cage. It's kind of ridiculously low, but that's what I've got. Okay. And then come up. Okay, so now most people will need a strap, not everyone. Some of you who are very long limbed, okay, may not need a strap to do the full pose. But you'll put the loop of the strap around your left elbow and hold on to the strap when you're first using it as close to your elbow as you can. Then swing yourself around, okay, and then straighten the arm and reach the arm down, okay, as much as you can. And you may need to release on the strap and turn your head to look over your right shoulder. And then there's also a stage where he turns the head the opposite way and looks over the left shoulder, and you'll feel a release of tension coming into the back body. Nice. And then release and come up. All right, stretch both legs out.
And can you identify right and left? Which side are we turning?
I am not mirroring you right now. So I was doing my right and I was saying the right. So when I say right, you should turn to the right. So I've kind of given up the mirroring. All right, then lean back with both of your hands. Lift up through the side ribs and roll your shoulders back. Okay. Then you're going to push yourself up into Bharavadasana, which is also on this sequence. And look, it's the same hand position, and drop your head back. Right, this hand position, come down with your buttocks. This hand position of Bharavadasana is the same hand position that's in Bharadjudasana. Isn't that fascinating? And in the sequence in the back of the book, week 19, 20, and 21, Bharavadasana actually comes right before Bharavadasana 1. Kind of interesting. Okay, so Bharavadasana 1 on the other side. Okay, so this is my right side, right here. Okay, everyone raise your hand and do your own right side, okay? Okay, that's your right side, this is my right side, okay? So I'm not mirroring you. I'm saying the side that you're going to, okay? So these are both of my legs, and I'm going to swing them to my right. You're going to swing them to your right. So I'm going to my right. And then look on this side, Monica, you're asking, this side, look, I'm even worse. Like I can't even make myself sit up at all. Okay, you can try it, that is worth trying. So obviously I can't do a pose if I can't sit upright. Up left, I guess you could say on this side. So I have to take some height and I'm gonna put it underneath my left buttock. And on this side, I actually need slightly more height. Not much more, but I'm just gonna take a little bit of my blanket and turn it up a little bit more. So that now I'm not tipping over.
Under the other side.
It doesn't really matter which side you do, as long as you do the other side the second time around. Okay, so my legs are to my right, your legs are gonna be to your right. Then you're gonna bring your block back behind you and just do the twist with your palm down first. So we're building the pose in stages. This is my right hand, it's going on my left thigh. Your right hand will go on your left thigh. Turn the palm down first, even if you can get the palm all the way down. Okay? This is one of the interesting, Lori also builds these poses in stages. And one of the interesting things that she said about it last week, which I thought was interesting, and I'm dealing with some injuries myself, so it was particularly relevant, is, even if you can do the final pose, okay? It's sometimes useful to look at the stages of the pose so you can understand how the final pose develops. And also it may be the case, well, certainly as we age, we're going to maybe lose some ability. So we'll know how to back up to a different stage and not lose the pose completely. But she also mentioned even people who aren't, I mean, everyone's aging, you might get an injury. Okay? I mean, hopefully not. But so if you know what to do in all of these different stages, you have more in your own toolbox that you can use, okay, to tailor your practice for what you need. Okay, so just start off putting your hand down, okay, and turn. And notice with your hand down, you can push. And notice where you feel the twist on your back when your palm is down. Then turn your palm up and push. And don't you feel the twist in a slightly different place on your back? Okay. For me, when my palm is down, I feel the twist more on the left side of my back. When my palm is up and I twist, I feel it more on the right side of my back. You might feel the same thing, you might feel something different. Okay, then go ahead and come back up to the center. Okay, do the arm grip. Okay. Just see where you get with your arm grip, okay, without using the strap. Okay. I don't get that far, but I can feel that hand on my back, the left hand on the right side of my back, is helping the back ribs turn. Okay. So it's not just a grip, it's actually it's a tool that's helping you turn more. Right? And then release. Stretch your right hand out. Turn your fingers down on your fingers, because that'll just stretch the fingers, but actually put your hand on your palm and stretch those fingers back, and it feels a stretch in the wrist. Nice. Okay. All right, then release. Here's my prop that I'm going to use to try and get myself upright when I go ahead and put my hand all the way down underneath my leg. So I'm having to lean pretty far down. Others of you don't have to lean that far down, like Liam, Bob got really long arms, they're doing better. But again, it's not just pressing down. Use your arm against your leg, like push it. So when you push your arm against your leg, it helps you rotate around more. And you may need a block like I do to get a little bit more upright, but when you really push with that arm, I feel even more twist on the lower part of my shoulder blades, both sides. All right, then come out. Right now we have to somehow put all that together. So I need a strap. You might need a strap, you might not need a strap. So I'm gonna put the strap on my right arm, hold it there, and hold on close to the elbow first, because almost all of you got the grip. And straighten your arm and swing the arm around. Again, the arm straightening of the arm and reaching down helps pull your arm around. And then try and get upright. Push your arm against your leg and turn and rotate. And then you can turn your head to look over to the right. You can turn your head to look back to the left. And then release and stretch your legs out. You know, in the new way of doing poses in life and new syllabus, that's considered a beginning pose. But it's really complex when you actually break down all of its different parts. And you know, the sequences of the back of the book, it doesn't come until week 19. So I think in that he's acknowledging it's kind of difficult. All right, so lean back. You're gonna get ready to do Bharavadasana again. Okay. Push down with your hands and lift your chest up well. Straighten your legs, lift your buttocks up high, extend your heel, what are those called? Balls of the feet toward the floor, lift the buttocks up, lift your chest up, and lower yourself down and come back to the center. Good. Okay. We're going to go toward Bharavadasana 2, but we're going to do a couple of things a little bit differently before we do that. So another new pose that's in this week is called Triangamukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana, which is my favorite pose to say. Triangamukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. Really fun. Okay. Its abbreviation is just TMEP. But it's more fun to say Triangamukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. Right? So what is that pose? It's Paschimottanasana, which is a forward bend, but one leg is in Virasana. Okay? So it's similar in a certain way to Bharavadasana 1. You're going to pull the left leg back behind you. If you could stay upright without support, you can do that. I'm kind of close to being able to do it, but I'm tipping. So again, I'm going to take a little bit of blanket and I'm going to put it, actually, I'm going to put it underneath both sitting bones right now. And the reason I did that is because it's Paschimottanasana, so you're going forward, and Paschimottanasana is a symmetrical forward bend. So I'm actually deciding to put it under both sitting bones. You could also just wedge the other hip up, that works too. So here we are in Triangamukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. And get your strap. Reach forward and get your foot with your strap. Pull on the strap and then turn your biceps up toward the ceiling so you really feel your chest get nice and well lifted. Then can you reach forward and get your foot? Maybe. Turn the biceps and then bend your elbows and you're going to extend from the tailbone through the head just a little bit forward. Or all the way forward if it's coming nicely for you. Oh, I forgot to mention something. Come back up. If you looked at this picture in Light and Yoga, you would see that his foot is actually pointing. So start off holding your foot, and then when you point your foot, doesn't it actually pull you a little bit more deeply into the pose? Just by pointing the foot, you start to go down a little bit more. It's like a little lever, and it works with the strap too. You just hold on to the strap, and when you point the foot, you'll find that you can walk up on the strap a little bit more. So that pose is also new in this 3 weeks. And stretch that leg out, and then we'll do the other side. We'll start off in Dandasana. Swing your right leg into Virasana. And again, I can kind of sit upright, but I'm pretty tippy. Okay. So I'm going to take my blanket, put it underneath both sitting bones, since that's what I did before. And here I am in the first stage of this forward bend. All forward bends actually have distinct stages. There's a stage where your hands are by your sides and you're lifting yourself up. That's called the Utthita stage. Okay? This means upright stage. There's also a stage that you can do where you lift your arms up, and that's called the Urdhva stage. There's also a stage where you reach forward and you stay in the concave stage and point your toe. So there's Utthita, Urdhva, the concave, and then you can bend your elbows out wide. I'm holding on to with my left hand on the side for a little bit of support. And then you come into the full convex, let's say, or flat stage of the forward bending. So anytime you're doing a forward bend, you can actually experiment with any of those stages. All right, then come back to the center and stretch your legs up. All right, so there's some new forward bends that are in this weeks of work. But let's just go through the other forward bends that Mr. Iyengar had in previous weeks, just the leg actions. So bring your right leg up into half Bharadjudasana. Now, again, here, are you sitting on some height? Depends. Right now, I've got a right groin injury, so my right knee is not going all the way down to the floor. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, I see that. I'm going to stretch my leg back out. I'm going to take some height underneath my buttocks and then move the leg out again. Okay, and now just with that little bit of height, I've got some release in my groin and my knees down to the floor. So this is he teaches Mahamudra. And I would just say this is Mahamudra legs. We're not going to do the whole pose. Okay? We're not going to do the bandha, let's say. But do the Utthita stage. Press down with your fingers. Push your leg and your thigh into each other and lift up into the chest. Do the Urdhva stage. Push your thighs and the middle leg into each other. Then reach forward and get your foot if you can. Turn your biceps up. This is the concave stage. And then you can bend your elbows and extend forward. And then come all the way up. Okay, this is the Mahamudra leg. Now, move your leg out a little bit so you come onto the top of the foot and your knee is a little bit back behind your pelvic bone. That is the Shasana stage or leg. And when I move that leg out, my knee actually came up a little bit more. So I'm gonna say, okay, even though my ego feels like I should be able to do this without more height. In fact, when I look at what actually is the case today, I need a little more height. So I just tri-folded my blanket instead of double folded it. Oh, and sometimes when you're in Shasana, because the knee goes out wider, sometimes you can actually angle your blanket. And when you make your blanket at an angle, then the leg has more room to descend down. But the difference, knees further back and the top of the foot is on the floor rather than your foot being against your thigh. Then Utthita stage, press down with your hands and lift up. Urdhva stage, reach up with your arms and then reach forward and get the concave stage. This one too has a little bit of a pointed foot. So you can pull forward, let your elbows go out wide, and you can pull. I'm not folding down super far, but you can either stay in the concave stage or you can fold down. All right, good, nice, Karen. Come all the way up. Yeah, so those two, Mahamudra and Shasana, have been in the sequences for the last, let's say, 2 to 4 weeks. He adds this week Iyengar Paschimottanasana, which we just did, but he also adds Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana. So can you from here try to bring your leg up into Paschimottanasana? And again, my knee is not quite going to the floor, but I think it will eventually. I'm just going to put a little bit of height underneath my leg, and I'm still up on my height I'm sitting on. But just to make a clearer link to the Bharavadasana, take your strap, put it on your right foot. Swing your right arm around you, and if you can get your foot, get your foot. If you can't, get your strap. If you can't do this pose because of your knee or your hip, you just back up to either Mahamudra or Dandasana. Okay, then Utthita stage, push down with your left hand and lift the chest up. Urdhva stage, lift your arm all the way up. Oh, concave back stage. This is much harder with the hand behind the back. And then maybe you can pull yourself a little bit forward into the forward bend. That's not happening very much for me today, but those are the 4 stages. And then come all the way up. And just for fun, move the leg back to Mahamudra. And then swing the leg up into Marichyasana. We'll come back to that pose in a little while. But now this is a Marichyasana leg. So we're just going to do all 4 of those leg positions again. So you've got Mahamudra with the foot flat against the thigh. You've got Janu-Shirshasana where you move your knees out a little bit more. If you can, you've got Padmasana. Then back to Mahamudra, and then swing the knee up, and you've got Marichyasana 1 and 2 and 3. All right, then stretch the leg out. That was a lot of sitting on that side. Place your hands back behind you. Press down with your hands and lift up. Push your feet toward the, toward the floor. Lift your chest up and arch your head back. And feel the difference on the right and the left side. You should probably feel a big difference of opening in the groin between the right and the left. Now let me see if I can remember that on the second side. Okay, it's kind of like some of you have done that trip around the hips work with me. It's kind of like that, except we're just doing one at a time. Okay, so the first one, Mahamudra. Your foot is flat against your thigh. It's like a seated Virasana. And this side, I don't actually need any height for Mahamudra. Okay, so put your fingers down and lift up Utthita stage. That just means the upright stage. When you lift up to the Urdhva stage, you have to push your foot and your thigh against each other even more as you reach up. Urdhva stage. Then do concave stage. Turn your biceps up. Then pull on your foot, bend your elbows out wide, and maybe you can fold a little further forward. Then you can come back. You can do concave stage, Urdhva stage, and Utthita stage. That's the Mahamudra leg. For Mahamudra, you point your foot, move your knee back a little bit, and you get more external rotation. But now the foot is really more like a Padmasana or a Marichyasana foot. Okay. My knee is up a little bit. I could probably get by without any height, but I know that if I do take the time to sit up just a little higher, I get some free release in my groin. Just not free, but just by doing the effort of putting a blanket underneath my hip, my groin released. All right, then put your hands back behind you, Utthita stage. Push your fingers up and lift up well through the chest. Urdhva stage, lift up, really pull up with your arms to get length. Reach forward, concave stage. Turn your biceps up toward the ceiling and bring your shoulder blades in. And then push yourself down into the pose. You can point your foot and pull. I said push, but that's not exactly right. You're really extending yourself into the pose. All right, then come all the way up. Okay, it's from Janu-Shirshasana leg. Yeah, you can retrace your steps. That's a good idea. Come and bring your leg into Padmasana. Probably if I just sat here for a little while, my knee will go down. But I'm just going to put a tiny bit of support underneath it, and it feels nice. All right, then get your strap and either reach around and get your left foot with your left hand, or you have your strap on your foot and you're going to reach around and get the strap. Utthita stage. Push down with your right hand and lift up straight. Urdhva stage. Reach up with your arm. Push down with your Padmasana foot on your thigh and reach up. And then reach forward on the little toe side of your foot, or you can get your big toe, both are correct. Concave stage. Now there is a little bit of pushing because you've got your arm on your back. You can actually use that arm to help the back extend forward toward the leg. Back to concave, back to Urdhva, back to Utthita. Right, swing your leg into Mahamudra, and then bring the leg up into Marichyasana 1. And then stretch the leg out. Again, just so we're even on the sides, let's do those 4 leg positions again. So you've got Mahamudra, where the foot is flat against the thigh. You've got Jani Shirshasana, where you're on the top of the foot and the knee goes back a little bit more. You've got Paschimottanasana, Padmasana, where your foot goes to the top of the thigh. Back to Mahamudra, up to Marichyasana 1. Stretch your legs out. Move your hands back behind you, push down with your hands, extend through the feet, and lift up well through your chest, really engage. And now your thighs should feel pretty much more even, right? But to feel that nice opening in the front groin. All right. And then come all the way back down. Okay, so now we have the building blocks of Bharadjudasana 2. So come into Bharavadasana 1 first. Okay, so the legs in swastikasana on the bottom. So how you get from Bharavadasana 1 to Bharavadasana 2, the leg is in the same shape. It's just that you got to get your swastikasana leg on top of your Virasana leg rather than it being underneath. So how are we going to do that? You're going to slide your swastikasana leg first to Mahamudra. So your foot's right on the thigh. Then you're going to slide it out to Jani Shirshasana. Then, if you can, you're going to bring it up into Paschimottanasana. You might need to sit on a little bit more height. You might need to put something underneath your knee. So that's the leg position. Then it's just like Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana, put the strap on your foot. Swing your arm around behind you, and then turn your palm up, turn and rotate, and maybe you can reach that heel of the hand downward toward the floor, and turn and rotate and look to the right, turn back and look to the left, turn and look to the right. That looks really good, Karen Higgins. Oh, that really released my back. I'm all the way up. And then come up, release, and stretch your legs out. Isn't that nifty? How it all just like progresses and fits together like a beautiful jigsaw puzzle. All right, then swing your legs off to your right, and I'm swinging mine off to my right. So you start off in Bharavadasana 1. Okay. Then you say to yourself, okay, for Bharavadasana 2, I've somehow got to get this swastikasana leg to transform and move upward into a Padmasana leg. Okay, so Mahamudra leg. I'm a little closer, at least the foot is free of the leg. Then make the foot be in the Padmasana shape, like Jani Shirshasana, and then you just see, can you get the leg up into Padmasana? And if you can't, it's okay. You can go back to Jani Shirshasana, Mahamudra, or you can go back to Bharavadasana 1. All of those work, but it's all a progression up to here. Then put your foot in, strap around your foot, swing your arm around behind you. If you can get your foot, fine. I'm not. All right, then reach around, and can you get your heel of your hand underneath that knee? Push your arm against the leg, even if you can't. Turn your head to the left. Turn your head back to the right. Push down with the heel of the hand again and push your arm against your leg as you turn and look to the left once more. Oh, that feels so good. And then release and come up. Stretch the legs out. Okay, one more Purvottanasana. Hands back behind you. Lift up through the chest. lift your buttocks up, take your hamstrings and your buttocks toward each other, lift your chest up and arch your head back. Lower yourself down. Come onto your hands and your knees and do a downward facing dog. And this downward facing dog is getting us ready to get upside down into headstand. We've been sitting on the floor for quite some time. You've got your groin released really nicely, so probably you'll feel your abdomen draw in toward the spine. You just let your head hang. And this is just it's getting the body used to being upside down. Okay, so just like we progressively built the Bharavadasana 2, you can think about this as progressively building yourself toward headstand. Then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. And again, just let your head hang. Lift your left foot up and put your left hand underneath. Lift your foot up and put your right hand underneath. Spread your thumbs out. Spread your little fingers out. And here you're preparing your hands for Shirshasana. And notice it's the opposite stretch on the wrist as we worked on in the first part of class. Then release your hands, put them back on the floor. Do one more downward facing dog. Press your hands down and forward. Pull the weight of the pose back into your legs. All right, then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. Okay. So it's now time for the headstand portion of class. I know that not everyone does headstand, but it's still that doesn't mean that you can't participate in the headstand part of class. Your options are to do more downward facing dog, to do more standing forward bend. You could also do what's called Virasana Twist, where you have your legs wide and your head goes down toward the floor. Or you could do headless headstand prep, where you put your hands down and headstand, and you walk yourself up and walk in until your shoulders are right over your elbows. So if you aren't doing headstand for whatever reason, like maybe you hurt your neck, maybe you have glaucoma or some other eye condition, maybe you have some other issue that keeps you from doing headstand. Okay? There are reasons not to do it. But there are options. Okay? So even if you aren't doing headstand, you're doing something in the headstand, let's say training, that's moving you toward a headstand. Some of you have those nice stools like Marcia does, where she can be upside down without any weight on her head. Karen Carpenter's got a nice rope wall like I do, so does Karen Higgins. So you can do those things too. Or you can do headstand. You can be at the wall, you can be in the middle of the room. All of those things are just part of the headstand family. So you just come up and do whatever you're, nice Vicki, that looks good. Nice Leanne, looking good. Nice Monica, nice wide stance. You're getting pretty close to getting down to that brick. A little bit more stretch, Melinda, through your inner extension, through your inner heels. Fatima, your shoulders look pretty good, but your hips are moving a little bit too much. Your legs are listing to the left. So you need to move your legs more toward the center, like toward that window side. That looks good, Bob. Good, Karen. Nice, Marcia. Can't see again, Cliff, but I'm sure that they're doing fine. Good, Suzette. That looks good. You got one of those stools now too, it looks like. Okay. All right. You can also, make a stool with 2 chairs. You can go over that sometime. Let's see how after all the twisting, how does your headstand feel? Now, if you need to switch positions, if you're in one of the alternate positions, you can do that. If you need to come down, come down. Those of you who are staying and you have a little bit more, let's say, stamina, the 2 inversion variations that he gives during this week are Bharadjudasana, where you turn to the right and turn to the left. And then Ekapadasana, where you bring one leg down and the other leg down. If you're out of headstand and you want to do some of that, you can lie down on the floor and you can do Supta Padasana. So we've already twisted a lot, so we don't really need to do Parshva Shirshasana, that variation. But, so we've got Akapada. We didn't stretch the hamstrings all that much. So you could do Supta Padangusthasana if you don't want to do Akapada Shirshasana. And so there's always something
Everybody else is doing.
that's nice to do. It's just straight down, Melinda, not off to the side. Yeah. That one is Parshva Akapada off to the side, but the one in this sequence is just bringing one leg down. Okay, and when you finish your headstand, go ahead and come down. Good gang cliff. And rest in downward facing child's pose. And so you want to prepare your body and your head and heart and everything for doing headstand. But there's also a coming out of headstand, right? So you want to come down and keep your head below your heart and like downward facing child's pose or downward facing dog or Uttanasana. So just like you transition yourself into Shirshasana, you should also transition yourself out of Shirshasana. All right. Then everyone go ahead and lie down on the floor, and let's all do Supta Padangusthasana 1, Supta Padangusthasana 2, and then bring the leg into half Padmasana. Okay. So you got your strap. Lie down on the floor. Then we have a very cushy and fun version of Tatoosh Padasana that I wish to share with you. But you start off in Supta Padasana. Just feel how the orientation, again, you were upside down, we were sitting a lot, and now we're supine. And so when I'm in the supine pose, I'm actually noticing that I can feel all the good effect of that twisting on my abdomen. That it really feels like it's just kind of naturally drawn into some Uddiyana Bandha. And then just to reinforce what we've been doing, bend your legs straight up and flex your foot. And pull the thigh in. This is a Marichyasana 1 leg. Right? If you moved your knee off to the side, okay, it would become a Malasana 2 leg. We didn't get to those today, but they're in the sequence. Then move your leg back to the center, put the strap on your foot. And now you've got Supta Padangusthasana 1 leg. Both feet in this one are also kind of slightly pointed. Okay? Not kind of slightly pointed, they are slightly pointed. And that helps you extend through the shin bone. Then move your leg out to Supta Padangusthasana 2, off to the side. If you, like me, have some support underneath your hips, when you close the fold of the leg, point the foot again, you might need to move whatever's underneath your hip so you have room to come into half Padmasana. Another pose in the sequence that we did not get to is Marichyasana 2. Okay, so can you bend your left leg, flex the foot, move the right knee away from your armpit and pull your leg in any amount while you're on the floor. Okay. So basically here you're in Marichyasana 2, laying down. Okay. Flex your left foot and it'll make it even more like Marichyasana 2. Because you would be sitting up doing this if you were doing Marichyasana 2. Right, then stretch your left leg back out. Let your right leg come into a better Padmasana. Then swing your leg back to Supta Padangusthasana 2 and feel how much more opening you have. Bring the leg back up, Supta Padangusthasana 1. Just for the heck of it, go ahead and roll over into Paridrita. Feels very nice. Oh. Back to one more Supta Padangusthasana 2. Really feeling that opening of ribs. Where hips. Hipster Padmasana is starting back this week also. And then lower the leg down. And then feel the difference between the right leg and the left leg. Okay, ready? We're going to do all of that on the second side. Then we're going to do a luscious Tatoosh Padasana. And then we're going to do like the wall pose. That's the plan. Okay. All right, so bend the leg up straight, bend the knee up, and flex your foot. Okay, that's going to make it be more, and this leg is right now in Marichyasana 1. When you angle the knee off to the side, your foot is still flexed, it becomes like Malasana, Malasana 2. Move the leg back to being like Marichyasana. Okay. Then put the strap on the foot and stretch your leg up to Supta Padasana 1. And pull the leg in, keep the leg straight, extend through both shin bones. Then move the leg out to the side for Supta Padasana 2. Which is also like Parva Ekapada, you're upside down. Close the fold of the knee and point the foot and bring the little toe side of the foot up to the top of the right thigh. Now it's in half Padmasana. And we didn't do this pose sitting, but if you keep your leg in Padmasana, and if you can, if it hurts your knee, don't do it, you just stay flat. Bend your right leg up back into Marichyasana. Flex your right foot. And you can pull that leg in pretty much. And eventually, if you were sitting, you would wrap your arms around your leg and bring your head to your knee. So you can do a little bit of a sit-up and see can you get your forehead anywhere near. All right, so now we're in Marichyasana 2. Go back to half Padmasana and feel how much your Padmasana leg opened because of the Marichyasana 2. Then back to Supta Padasana 2, off to the side. Over to Parivrita Supta Padasana. You feel how nice that twist feels on the back body. You support your foot with the brick like they're working on if you want to. Then one more time, back over to Supta Padasana 2. Lift the leg up and lower the leg down and come back into Supta Padasana. Feel the opening in the ground. We're going to do a regular Tatoosh Padasana, and then I'm going to show you the cushy Tatoosh Padasana, okay? Fatima, do you have a question? Yep.
Yeah, about the Supta Padasana 2, where are the other hips supposed to be in line with each other? Where is the foot in line to the hip?
Okay, there are lots of variations of it, but by and large, you bring the leg, you would, in general, you don't do it from the 90-degree angle, okay? So you have to pull the leg in a little bit more closer toward your torso, and then you bring the leg off to the side. It's like eventually, if you weren't using a strap, you have to get your big toe, okay? And then your leg goes off to the side. Now what tends to happen is the left hip tends to tip up, and you want to keep the left hip down. But it's, sometimes I do it this way. It's a lot like when you do Jatara Parivartanasana, right? You have to pull your legs in and lift the legs over so the foot is kind of hovering over the right hand. But there is also a variation you can do that has more external rotation where you actually turn the foot where it goes down toward the floor. But that's a variation. And I've even been taught it, you can do it turning the leg in slightly, which is different. Okay, are we even? Oh, do a Tatoosh Padasana. And then I'll show you the cushy super deluxe Tatoosh Padasana. Okay, so you're gonna bend your knees, lift your buttocks up high, tuck your shoulders underneath you, and feel how this feels on the back of the neck and on the chest. It feels fine. Okay? It's a good feeling to me. But when I show you the super deluxe version, I think you're going to feel that there's a lot more softness and opening in the region of the neck and the chest. So that's regular Tatoosh Padasana. Now to do super deluxe Tatoosh Padasana, you need 2 bricks and 2 blankets. This is another one I learned from Lori. One of the other benefits of life in pandemic is we're not bounded by geography in the same way. The way we are, like we're not supposed to leave the house, or we're not supposed to leave the house. But because of Zoom, all of this other geography opened up. Interesting little paradox. So I've got 2 bricks. They're going to be for my feet, and then I folded the sticky mat kind of over the bricks. And I want to be able to hold on to the sticky mat with my hands. Then you're going to take 2 blankets and fold them the long way. Okay, like that. Ooh, we're running out of time. We may not have time to do legs up the wall pose, but this is okay. We'll do this one. It's super deluxe, and then we'll do Shavasana. Okay, so they're like this. Now, it's a little tricky to get into because you want your buttocks to be right by the bricks, and you want your shoulders on the blanket and your head off the blanket. Okay, so head's on the floor, shoulders are on the blanket, feet are up on the bricks, and then I'm holding on to this little edge of the sticky mat, and I'm turning my arms up. And when I do it this way, you maybe can even hear it in my voice, but it really takes my cervical vertebra in differently. I have more broadness across the chest and just a lighter feeling in my head. So you might need to play with getting the spacing right. Yeah, that's it, Pratima. That's good, Kathy. But for me, it feels fantastic. I mean, I even like Tatoosh Padasana. It's not like I can't do it. Okay? But when I take the time to do it, yeah, that's good, Vicki. Do it in this lovely supported way. I just feel all this more freedom. You can come down and do it one more time. Maybe you need to kind of adjust things. And your buttock should be very close to the bricks. And then the blanket, again, your head's on the floor, your shoulders are on the blanket, and you hold on to the sticky mat with your hands as you lift yourself up. And then you can tuck your shoulders underneath you. Yeah, that looks good. Can y'all feel a difference from doing it on the floor? Yeah. Okay, and then you just lower your buttocks down and then move all your props out of the way and come into Shavasana of your choice. Or you see that just went ahead and went into legs up the wall pose. That's also fine. We've only got 2 minutes left in class. So if you want to do a little legs up the wall, you can do that. Let your eyes release into the back of your head. Let your tongue release away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let the back of the throat release. Let the sides of the throat release. Let the base of the throat release. Let your ears draw inward. Completely relax the features of your face. Become quiet within. And take a couple deeper breaths. Place your hands on your ribcage. Bend your knees. If your legs up the wall, put yourself away from the wall and roll to your right side. If you're in Shavasana, bend your knees and roll to your right side. And then use your hands to push yourself back up. Sit up straight and tall. Lift your chest well. Hold your palms together to your heart and close your eyes. Gratitude to the benefit you receive from your practice of yoga. In gratitude to the people you have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with. And in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India and down through a line of teachers and students to you here on the mat in Austin, Texas, and Paris, France, brought together through the miracle of your practice and